Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Detour podcast, where we talk all things related to the topic of unconventional success and upcomings. I'm your host, Gary Fan, a community college alumni with aspirations of becoming a world-changing business owner. This episode marks episode 9 within the first season of the podcast, and today I'm joined with a very special guest, UC transfer student, UCLA undergraduate alumni, or becoming an alumni soon, and TikTok star Tuyen Nguyen. What is up, Tuyen? I'm so glad you can join us today on the podcast. Do you mind telling the audience or listeners a little bit about who you are, what you're majoring in or used to major in, and what you're doing now and what you want to do in the future?
Yeah, of course. But first, thanks for having me here. It's really nice to see you again,
Of
Gary.
Of course.
And seeing everything that you've been able to accomplish. But hi, my name is Tuyen. I'm a UC to UC transfer. I started off at UCR studying biology, and I came over to UCLA as biology as well. But then within around the 3.5 year mark of me being in college, I changed over to cognitive science, which is essentially like human-computer interaction, which is a mix of CS and psych. And so within that time frame, I started trying to discover what else I liked outside of biology, but we can go into that in a little bit. And then so I'm studying that now. I'm also on TikTok. I make aesthetic baking videos, and I've been fortunate enough where I've had a lot of success in that. And I'm also an intern at Adobe right now, so I'm really interested in marketing within tech.
How did you find out that you're interested in tech? Like, did you have to, through trial and error, like explore what you didn't like to figure out what you liked, or like how was that process for you?
Ooh, I think that process for me was really, really hard because even coming out of high school, I was never the kid that kind of had even like the slightest idea. Like coming out of high school, if you had asked me to choose between like STEM or, like just humanities, I haven't even been able to choose.
Yeah.
And so for a really long time, I was just kind of like, oh, what am I doing? But the reason why I chose bio and kind of went along with it for a long time was just because of all the influence I had around me, which is a lot of our friends, I feel like, are, like wanting to go and pursuing the health career. And so that's why I was just kind of like, why not? And then luckily I was pretty good at all the STEM classes. Like I really enjoyed chemistry, OChem, and all of that. And so that's why I stuck around with it for a while. And even though I knew in the back of my mind, I just didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until kind of when I came over to UCLA and I joined my business fraternity that I was exposed to so many different career options that I didn't know was possible before. Because before, to me, business was just like accounting.
Yeah.
Like, and all of that. That was essentially it.
Yeah.
And so, I was really fortunate enough to have and receive so many different avenues of business. And that's kind of when I took a I delved deeper into those careers.
Yeah, no, that's definitely cool seeing like your progression from, I knew you when you were a senior in high school, right? Like, and now you're like a senior graduating from college. So it's definitely like a journey for you. And I think it's awesome to see how far you come in transferring as well. And I think you had a really unique transfer experience that I don't think a lot of people can talk about, right? And I feel like it's definitely unique towards you as well. But for me, I always want to ask, like, why did you want to transfer? I mean, from like UCR to UCLA, because I feel like, in my opinion, even though like, or not my opinion, but I feel like a general consensus would say that at a UC, it feels like you're given all these opportunities. Like you already have all these advisors and everything that you don't have at like a local junior college. So why would you make that leap to transfer to UCLA from UCR?
I think it kind of is broken down into two parts. First part being was once the college admissions came out and I was seeing like, I was receiving my acceptances and like my friends around me were receiving their acceptances, I just kind of like reflected back and I was like, there were some schools that I didn't even bother applying to. Like I didn't even bother applying to UCLA my first time around. And I think it was just kind of like, what would have happened if I had tried my best in school? Because I did a lot of reflecting around like, the past 4 years of high school. And I knew that I definitely didn't give it my best because I knew I was doing it, half of it for like my parents, like, oh yeah, you gotta go to college. But for me, I feel like if I'm not given a tangible definition of what college means, then I'm not gonna put my full force into it. Because I was never one of those kids that grew up dreaming, oh yeah, I want to go to LA, I want to go to Berkeley. For me, it was just, I want to go to college. But, so it was really hard to kind of visualize your goals if you can't really like put it into like an idea.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons, was because it was just like me pushing myself. Like, what would have happened if you gave it your 100%? That was one part of it. The other part of it was just, I guess, for my family, like if you look back on it, so I feel like a lot of people or not our age, but like in our community, their parents are immigrants, like I'm an immigrant myself.
Yeah.
And so looking back at it, I was just like, my dad and my parents like gave up everything for me to go to America for my education. And I couldn't even try my best to see where I would have gone, and most of the people in my family, they have never like made it to a school of this caliber. And so I wanted to set the precedent. Like, even though I'm one of the youngest within my extended family, I told them like, if they're not gonna do it, I will. And so that was like the second reason going into why.
Dang, that's pretty inspiring. I feel like no, that's definitely unique how you kind of reflected back on your journey, and you kind of chose the forgotten path, I guess you could say, because I mean, in a way, it's like you kind of had experience with going down one path already, and now it's like you're finally figuring out like, what if I lived a different life, like what would be my potential, right? And do you think that transition like made you happy? Like, would you say you're happy where you are now?
Yes, 100%. And I think it was because I gave it my all. Because the first time around, it wasn't because I was unhappy at UCR in any way. I mean, this mindset like was catalyzed during end of high school. So it wasn't that I was unhappy at UCR in any way. It was more of just like, I was dissatisfied with myself and kind of the performance and the ethic that I put in. And so like I saw UCR was just like another starting point for me, because I told myself whether I was going to go to like a CSU or a UC or like a CC, like no matter what, I was going to go to UCLA. Like there was just like, no, like it was just, I was going to go to UCLA. Yeah, so that's why. It wasn't because I wasn't happy or anything. It was just more of like a for me type of deal.
Yeah. No, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
And I think also going back a little bit to, you mentioned joining like a fraternity too at UCLA. Personally for me, I'm not like a fraternity guy, but because for me, my morals on that, it's like, I feel like a fraternity is a label on a social group.
Yeah.
And this is not to like bag on anyone who's in a fraternity. Like I definitely respect like fraternities and stuff like that. But for me, I feel like frat is like a label for a social group, and a social group can be found outside if you really are passionate about it. Like let's say if you are passionate about starting your own business, you'd find like-minded people who are like similarly passionate about that, and you have your own social group, and you don't really need that label like you don't need to label that fraternity, right? So my question to you is, why join a fraternity? How has that improved your life and changed it in any way possible?
Yeah. So I want to start off with saying that initially I was like that too. Like not like I was totally against it, but I do definitely get even still now I get like, you shouldn't like pay for your friends and whatnot. Like I understand that. But the thing is, especially as a transfer, you're not given the allotted time period that most people do. You get 2 years, not double that. Most people get like 4 years. And so that was one of the reasons why. It was because, one, I knew that I wouldn't be able to make the amount of friends I would have naturally within the given time period.
Yeah.
And so that's where fraternities step in. I'm in a professional business fraternity, by the way, in case that was missed.
I was thinking about joining AK Psi too, I think.
Yeah, I'm in AK Psi.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Another thing is that I understand that, people can make friendships. Like, obviously, like, most of my friendships are, like, outside of my fraternity. But the type of people that you meet, the caliber of the people that you meet within these fraternities are insane, especially at a top-tier university such as UCLA or Cornell.
Yeah.
There's people that you wouldn't be able to meet naturally. And I feel like that's just because, let's say like there's like 100 people within the fraternity. Realistically, if you weren't in the fraternity, how many of those people would you have met? And I feel like this is really hard, because I feel like if people don't try to like approach this with an open mind, they might view it in the wrong way. But it's just the type of connections that I've been able to create within these fraternities are insane. Like my friends, like parents are like CEOs of some like the biggest companies in America. Like I can name drop it right now, but I'm not going to. And I feel like for the most part, a lot of these kids are pretty wealthy, and so they have the connections, they have the means to be able to be in this fraternity. So it's a good indicator of something, you know. And it's not to try to be like, it's not to try to be superficial, but it's the reality of it, you know. And especially like at a school like Cornell, like I think it's really, really pivotal to have as many connections as you can.
Would you say that if you did go to LA your first year, would things be different? Like if you didn't know about your frat, like your professional business frat, would you have looked into joining it your freshman year if you were to go to LA? And because I feel like, no, you do definitely bring up a good point in terms of transferring and not really having that fundamental like friend group. I'm kind of having like that same problem with figuring out like, dang, like I don't know anyone here, how am I gonna make some friends, right? So would it be different if you went to LA, and would you have made that decision to join a professional business frat too?
I think so. Looking back at it now, for my first year at UCR, I tried to, I mean, like I was pledging a like Asian sorority, like social sorority, but I knew that my grades, it was gonna be either my grades or I was gonna go to UCLA, and ultimately I chose UCLA. So that's why I depledged within like the time frame. But if I were to look back on it now, like, you know, 4 years into college, giving advice to somebody, I would say take your first year and just do whatever you want. Not even join like a fraternity or anything, but just join clubs, meet people, go to parties and all that. Like do what you want. So you can find who you are in your friend group, is like who they are before you join a fraternity or sorority. Because then that means like if let's say like things don't go through well with the sorority or fraternity, you still have a friend group to fall back on. You know who you are outside of the club, the organization. Because I feel like a lot of people that join their first year in like right away, like fall quarter, they kind of lose their sense of identity outside of the organization. You know, so I think that's my perspective on it, because I do think like being part of an organization, whether that's like a fraternity or a club that you are really invested and involved in, is like kind of pivotal to a college experience and just really vital into making like friends, you know. No, I definitely agree with that. And going back to what you're saying with, you know, losing yourself by, I guess, joining in a frat like too early, like on within your freshman year. Not that it's a bad thing, but no, I've definitely seen like a lot of examples where, you know, the frat, their frat is like their life, you know, and it's, to me, it's a little sad because I want to know who you are as a person. And I just, who you're affiliated to. Exactly, right? So, no, I definitely think that gives me, and I guess the viewers here, a lot of perspective on the frat life and just being in a fraternity, even a professional one, right? And I definitely never knew that, or I never thought of that perspective of things, but you bring up a really good point, definitely. I think, and also before we move on, I definitely think like a business fraternity will give you like what you're looking for, because it's like, it gives you like, you're not gonna be invested in it 24/7. Like you're not gonna be, you know, you're not gonna become like a member of the fraternity, as in you're not gonna be 100% into it, but as it's gonna be like half social and then half of like the business part that you want from it. So I feel like it's a really good investment. Yeah, damn, that's cool. I mean, also, I guess moving on, you also during this past like year for COVID, you've had a spark in your TikTok and Instagram fame. You had a little piece of that fame. So how did that even develop? How's that a thing? And do you mind shedding some light on that experience? Yeah, of course. So this kind of goes back in like hand in hand with my career aspirations as well. So before COVID happened, I knew that I wanted to get out of like medicine. I knew I wanted to get out of biology, but I just didn't know how or like what exactly. And for most business majors, if you don't really know what you want to do, you automatically turn into consulting because it's like,
very true.
You know, like,
yeah,
like
very
what do
true.
consultants do? I have no idea. But
yeah, me neither.
yeah, so then I was kind of at that stage where I was like, you know what, like consulting doesn't seem too bad, and so I really liked the logic and the strategy behind consulting. That was going into quarantine. Quarantine happened, and I was like going crazy because I was just at home. My parents were super strict, and so I had nothing to do. And this entire time, I've always been baking, like since I was young, and so I saw like how easy TikTok was to use and how viral people could get. So I was just like in my head, oh, why not just try to make try to film something like super super quick. And so I uploaded my first video on May 1st, and the first video obviously like it didn't blow up, but it did pretty well, and so I was kind of able to see like, oh yeah, you know what, like
what was the view count?
Maybe like 20 grand. I think
it's pretty good. It's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah. So somewhere around there. Yeah, and I continued to make like just like videos, nothing like not much thought into it. But as I gained more followers, people were like, "Oh yeah, can you make an Instagram? Can you make a website? Can you tell us the recipes?" And it kind of developed into that. And I think the first video that really blew up was kind of this video that incorporated. So at this time period, Avatar, the Last Airbender, was like super hype on TikTok, and so
I think I know what you're talking about. Okay,
so then, one of the characters in there, he really likes drinking tea, for all the viewers that don't watch Avatar, and so that's when I incorporated my baking and like drinking making skills with making a tea that was inspired by him.
Wow.
And I was kind of able to leverage the numbers that Avatar was pulling in and combining it with the content I was making, so then they could gain even more traction. Yeah. So I think that was like...
Damn, that's so smart. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that I feel like TikTok's like algorithm or platform is a little easier to use or to figure out. But how did you come to that realization that, I'm doing the right thing on TikTok, right? Like did you have like a consistent plan? Like again, was it like trial and error where you just made like a video to see if people would like it, and if not, you'd make something else? And did you have like keywords that you put in, like hashtags or something? So explain some of that.
Yeah, so I think marketing at the end of it is just psychology, because marketing at the end of the day is trying to make someone like your product. And it's like, you can have one product, but if you market it the wrong way, then the product's gonna fail. But if you are able to market it in the right way, it's just gonna skyrocket. So in the end, it's just, how do I make people perceive this in a good light? And how do I make people want something? And so, yeah, that's why I feel like marketing at the end of the day is just psychology. And so it was just kind of understanding what people liked, because I feel like I've naturally been drawn to psychology and seeing how people think and what attracts people. So I think that just my years of experience, especially within my classes and stuff, helped me there. And for like the algorithm and stuff like that, it was just kind of researching it on my own time, because it was genuinely something I liked to learn more about, and it wasn't forced on me at all. A lot of trial and error, learning what people like and what people don't like. But if you are trying to basically make it on TikTok, I mean, there's no set formula, because even now I know that maybe half of it was, me being able to strategize correctly, and half of it was I got lucky. But I guess like the top points were, at the end of the day, make good content, because if you make good content without the trends, without the virality, it's gonna be good content and people are gonna watch it. Secondly is just understanding that platform's algorithms. Understand if you're on Instagram, understand their algorithm. If you're on Facebook, understand theirs. If you're on TikTok, understand theirs. And lastly is just being consistent with your post. And I think that's the hard part about social media, is because you always have to be on time.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's so cool and interesting how you've developed, and I guess through trial and error you've gotten a piece of the fame, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how long did that take you to go from figuring out everything to actually picking up traction and becoming big? Because, or was that even a while, or did that just come overnight with one video and everyone's oh my god, she's so cool, let's follow her, and you just went from 0 to like 500K? Like how'd that go?
Definitely not. The funny thing about TikTok was I didn't even tell any of my friends about it. Like no one knew about it. So if yeah, same thing for my my transfer story. I didn't tell anybody about it either.
Wow, really?
Yeah, no.
Dang, that's crazy. So all your friends were like, dang, like twin out of nowhere going to UCLA?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. But yeah,
cool.
so for TikTok, it kind of took me a while because let's say like you go viral on TikTok. That doesn't ensure your engagement is there. Just because you go viral doesn't mean you're going to have a consistent amount of followers. And that's why you don't depend on virality. You depend on consistent engagement and creating like quality videos, quality content, whatever it is. Yeah, but I think around the time, it probably took me 2 months to kind of get it down, like what was happening with TikTok, and I think another 4 to 5 months to get my first brand deal with Walmart. And then after that I was able to get another one with Postmates, Target, Chobani, and all that after that. Yeah.
Whoa, that's pretty cool. I'm just trying to process like how like everything you just said in terms of, you know, building consistency, engagement and stuff.
Yeah.
But another thing that I can't stop thinking about now that you mentioned it is like with not like why didn't you tell like your friends that you had like a TikTok or something? Because I know for me, if like I'm telling my friends something, like I'd want them to be supportive of it and like continue to, I don't know, like reshare or repost, right? So what was the mentality behind not telling your friends that you're doing a TikTok or not telling your friends that you're transferring?
I think it just depends on, well, part of it is kind of like my personality. One, I feel like I try to put up a very good front to most people. And so let's say like if I didn't make it to LA or if I didn't become viral on TikTok, no one would have to know about it, which I understand is like kind of, I guess, good and bad, because it's like, I mean, like everyone has their like downfalls and all of that, and like I should try to be transparent with that. But that's just how my mind works, and I know that. Another part of it was just because I know I'm a very actions person, like it's kind of like whatever I do, it's gonna come to the point where I won't even need to tell you like what I'm doing or who I am, like you're gonna know. And it was like that with like UCLA, where it was just like, I'm not gonna tell you that it's like I'm super hardworking, like dedicated, I'm smart and all that. You're gonna see that like that I made it to UCLA, and you're gonna know. And even with TikTok, it's like I'm not gonna need to tell you that it's like I'm really good at this and good at that. You're just gonna need to pull up the numbers. Damn. It's gonna be there.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So not even your close friends knew.
I mean, if they found it eventually, then for LA or
TikTok. Both.
Yeah. So TikTok, I mean, the algorithm is the algorithm. If they found it, then they found it. But I was never the one to tell them.
I found it. I did find it. Yeah. That's cool though.
But then I was never gonna be the one to tell them myself. But for LA, I think I told like 3 of my friends, like super last minute, because I was kind of getting like disoriented with like editing my essays, and I told like 3 of my friends, like out of all my friends.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was about it.
No, I can relate with that in terms of, I guess, like the transfer experience, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you, but like for the longest time I was like a USC boy.
Yeah.
Like I really wanted to go to USC, and I didn't make it like my first time in high school, like coming out of high school.
Yeah.
My second time applying my first year of college.
Yeah.
But like my second year in college at JC or community college, I had like a change of path or heart, and I was like, dang, you know, like Cornell has like a really good program for what I want to do, right? And I didn't tell like everyone, but I definitely did tell like some of my close friends.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely get you on keeping it under the wraps, and then like actually getting in, and then you know that I work hard, you know, like I get that mindset.
No, it's scary, especially when it's like something that means so much to you, because when people know, I think it's like inevitable that they will say things, like whether it's your family or friends, and sometimes it's like things that mean so much to you, you would rather just like, it's like up to you, like nobody else is in control of that except for you.
Did you get any like hate or anything, or anyone that didn't like what you were doing, whether that be like transferring or like TikTok and stuff like that? And if so, like how did you combat that experience?
I don't even think it was that. I mean, like I'm so fortunate enough to have like such amazing friends and
fans too.
I mean, like like I still kind of get hate on TikTok, question mark like on that, but
Dang, you get hate on TikTok for just posting food?
it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like not like consistent hate, but every once in a while I'll post a video and people will be
What
like,
do they say? Like, dude, like this sucks or it's not good or something.
Okay, so I posted this video like a couple days ago, maybe like 4 days ago, and it was this recipe that Kylie Jenner posted on her Instagram story, and it was just of cookies.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, you know what? She posted a recipe of cookies, and she didn't say where it came from. So I'm gonna call it Kylie Jenner's cookie recipes because she didn't credit where she got it from.
Yeah.
And even though like I knew beforehand that if I attached Kylie Jenner's name to TikTok, it was gonna do really well, like regardless. So that was like a marketing strategy in its
leveraging, right?
Yeah. But it's just I didn't expect people to be like, oh my gosh, that's not Kylie Jenner's like cookie recipe. That's like Nestle's cookie recipe.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what? But it got like 15 million views within the past like 4 days.
That's crazy.
And, yeah, so I guess that's kind of like the most of the hate that I've gotten. But yeah, but other than that, I'm very fortunate too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, that's cool though. But I guess on the other end of social media and being behind like all this marketing and being behind a screen all the time, is there like a downfall where you feel like social media has like a drag on your mental health? Because I feel like for me personally, even though I'm not like a content creator, I don't post like so much or daily on these platforms, right? I still feel the burden of being on my phone all the time and it's draining, right? It's draining sometimes. So has that ever affected your mental health? If so, like how did you move past that and get like the courage to move forward?
Yeah, well, first, do you consider yourself like an introvert or extrovert?
That's a good question. Because on my Myers-Briggs thing, I know like it's not entirely accurate, but it's so like crazy. I'm 51 extrovert and 49 introvert.
I think that's me too.
Really?
Like somewhere like very, very close to that. Like where it's like just kind of on the like...
Yeah. Are you like the type of person... Okay, for me, I can like socialize with like different people and stuff, but I definitely have like a social battery.
Yeah.
Like if I'm out for like 4 hours and like I'm constantly like putting myself out there and stuff, like I'm gonna burn out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like I get like super tired and like I just stay to myself sometimes.
Yeah, and it's to the point where it's like you're not even enjoying your time outside. It's just like I just want to go home.
Yeah. That's me sometimes, definitely.
But the reason why I asked you that is because I feel like for me personally, like even though like on my Myers-Briggs I'm like extroverted, like again like I'm on that kind of that cusp, but it is tiring for me in the sense where it's not like mentally draining my health, more of like, oh yeah, like I'm comparing myself. Well, to some degree, like obviously, like, but I feel like that's not the bulk of what I'm focused on. More, it's more of just like having enough social battery for my friends in real life, having enough social battery to reply to people online, and keeping the engagement and community online. Yeah. So it's balancing those two. I think it's the hardest part. And it's like, because you are like a content creator on like TikTok or Instagram, you're always going to constantly be on it, right? But in your downtime, you're also going to be on it. And so it kind of feels like you're mixing work with like leisure almost a bit. Yeah. And I think that's the most tiring part for me, at least.
Yeah. And so your solution was finding balance between the two with like your friends and stuff like that, and having like different energies for the two things that you're coming into. Okay, the thing is, I feel like I'm not very good at that because for a long time. So after my TikTok kind of like went crazy. Yeah. I kind of just stopped for a while. I went from posting like 2 videos a week, which is what you're supposed to normally do on TikTok, just to keep up with the algorithm and everything. I went from posting like 2 times a week to maybe like once or twice a month. Just because I couldn't handle like being in LA, being with my friends, and then constantly being on social media because I get drained really easily. Yeah. I was just like, I'm gonna choose one or the other, and it was okay. Yeah. I mean, does it take a lot of time though? Like making content for TikTok? I mean, are you behind all like the editing and shooting and posting and like making a caption? Because I know like being behind that like scene before, like even though I wasn't so good at it, I mean like it took a lot out of my day just like to research what to do and how to present myself for the media. So how was that for you? Did it take so much of your time? It was more of just like so many things happening at once, just because I'm someone that gets inspiration very easily. And so like I would be doing something and my mind would constantly be like, oh, this would be a really good video, and like
that would be like a tiny chunk of it, and trying to strategize what to post, like what's trending and how I can apply that to, you know, my videos. What would people like to see, like obviously like shooting, filming and all that, editing. Yeah, so I think that was kind of just like there's a lot behind the scenes of being a content creator. I feel like most people don't recognize. They're just like, dude, you're just like pouring ice into a cup for like 30 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
I think if you're taking it seriously, as I did, where it was down to the point where it's like strategy, hashtags, algorithm, what would like, you know, boost engagement, all that, it was tiring to that extent.
I see.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're infatuated with TikTok because you like doing, like, did you continue it because you had a consistent like traction like behind it, or do you think it was because you personally like liked it? Because I know you mentioned that after like you blew up a bit, like you kind of stopped for a bit, right?
Yeah.
And was that like a reflection period where you're like, oh shoot, like am I really doing this because I like doing this, or am I doing this for like more traction and stuff like that? So where does that stem from for you?
So I think the reason why I kind of stopped was because I took time and I was like, you know what, like I feel like being an influencer, being a content creator wasn't stable enough, because I know that after this I'm gonna go to a big tech company and do marketing there, or like that's my dream, and I'm kind of living it right now.
Congrats.
But, and so I think that's why I kind of put a halt on it, because I was like, you know what, this is gonna be on like the back burner, like it's not my 100% priority, because I know what my 100% priority was, and that was to get a stable job within tech.
Yeah.
But now I think, now that I've gotten more time to kind of like reflect, I do appreciate everything that I've gotten out of being a content creator, and I'm gonna try my best to like try to balance those two, but we'll see where that happens.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And I guess moving on to working at like a big tech company as a social media manager, which
it's kind of
somewhere in between,
yeah.
Something like that. But how's that like being able to live your dream in a way, right? Like is it what you expected it to be?
I learned that capitalism I hate capitalism.
Oh man, I agree. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think the reason why I called it like my dream for so long was just from my background, like, you know, growing up an immigrant, low income. Everything that I just looked at people around me and I was like, oh my gosh, they work at Google, they work at Apple, that sounds so cool, you know? And so for a long time, you just become so fixated on these titles, these accolades, the privileges, the prestige that comes along with it, because that's something that you've never had, and so you want that. And, you know, once I got it, even though I was really grateful and happy, I realized that it's like, at the end of the day, it's like prestige and it's like money, but does it really make you happy?
Facts. I can agree with that.
Yeah. And I know that some people are very happy with the 9 to 5 and like they're comfortable with that. But I think for me personally, I feel like for you too, you're not gonna be happy with the 9 to 5.
I'm not happy.
Yeah. And I've learned that I've gotten like one of like the biggest tech companies out there, you know? And even then I feel like I'm really proud of myself for that, but I don't think I would be like genuinely happy, even if I got like Google, Facebook, and all that. So
yeah. No, I can agree with you on that. And you bring up a really good point in like the fact that everyone's really fixated on getting into these prestige, like I feel like in high school it was everyone's fixated on prestige, like colleges and universities, and now in colleges and universities everyone's fixated on like getting into these big tech companies, right? But I feel like no, like you definitely bring up a good point. Like, are they really happy though once they get there? And for me to answer that 9 to 5 thing too, like I'm definitely not happy. Like I had an internship, or not an internship, I was like an assistant accountant basically, and I worked in like a little cubicle over the summer. Let me tell you, that was like the most boring summer of my life. And like not to hate on like if like my supervisor's watching this or listening to this, like not to hate on like them or anything, but it's like, I don't know, just being there in an office environment and just looking at a computer screen for 9 to 5 hours, it's like lifeless in a way. And like it just sucks the energy out of you, you know? And that's definitely that doesn't make me happy. So I don't know, I can definitely relate on that of what you said.
No, but the thing is, it's like I do understand why people would want to work at big tech companies.
Why?
You know?
Why?
Okay,
why do you think they work?
Okay, honestly, the pay is insane.
Yeah.
Like, as somebody who's like grown up, like especially if you come from like a underprivileged background, like if they give you this much money, like you're gonna say yes.
Even if you're not happy?
Yeah, because it becomes like a thing of like, it's like survival at that point.
Yeah.
You know? Like if you've grown up your whole entire life like not having all these things, and all of a sudden this company like is able to give you everything that you've wanted in the sense of like financial stability, then you're gonna obviously like take it. And I feel like that's what happens to a lot of people. Maybe for like the first 2 years, I mean, at least that's what I'm planning on doing, even though I might not genuinely be happy.
Yeah.
But with like the pay and the security and all that, then like I would, you know, trade that for maybe 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the pay is insane. Like even as an intern, my pay is insane.
Yeah.
They just shower you with gifts. My manager and my team is great. Like I'm not saying that my manager and my team are bad in any way, but I think it's just the idea of working 9 to 5 drains me. That's what truly drains me, not like what I'm doing or any of that.
Would you say like there's a better way to work around that then? With like, do you think 9 to 5 is really the most productive way to get work done efficiently? Because I feel like this 9 to 5 thing is like a problem. Like everyone that I've talked to, at least like our age and like our generation, I feel like we're really straying away from the idea of a 9 to 5. So do you think there's a solution to that?
I think we've gotten to the point where we realize that it's unnecessary to work 8 hours a day, because you're not even completing 8 hours of work, like worth of work.
True, very true.
Like,
yeah.
I'm completing maybe like, I think I heard on average people complete like 3 hours.
Dude, I'm completing 2, man. I'm completing 2.
Yeah, so that's why it's like, I don't think it's sustainable, but I don't
think so. Yeah.
I don't think that the big corporations, you know, that control like this entire market is ready to kind of let go of it. But I will say that tech companies are becoming better at it. Where for my company personally, like Adobe, they give us every 3rd Friday off, and we get a summer break where we get a whole entire week off. We're paid for everything. Winter break, we're paid for everything.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, and so that's why I feel like tech companies are kind of moving towards that direction. But I know like, let's say like IB or like consulting or just like regular business companies, they're still kind of like pretty strict on that. Because I have a lot of friends who are working in that sector, and it's heinous. So
yeah, I can imagine, because I don't know, I went to an info meeting recently for like IB. Okay, for me, throughout like my college journey, I feel like in terms of business, I've tried to dive into like all the little like sectors of business to just get a feel. Niches, just to get a feel of what that like job would be like, right? And recently I went to a session for like IB and consulting, and honestly, Linda, who's on the podcast recently too, she was telling me how cutthroat it is, you know?
No, it's insane.
Yeah, and like that's just like, I don't know, like that's just not my vibe.
Yeah, because I have friends, like a lot of my friends in my business fraternity and just people I know at UCLA, obviously like super smart kids, like they're at like the top consulting firms, top banks and whatnot. They're racking up like 100-hour weeks.
Damn.
And it's like, why would you want to do that? Like, I understand you're getting 6 figures out of college. I understand you're getting a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I feel like at some point it's like a balance. But I mean, like, I guess they're willing to give up that time, but for me personally, I feel like I would not.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's this thing I've been mentioning too along like the episodes. It's like, have you heard of Ikigai before? Like
the Ikigai? Is it the Japanese?
Yeah. So it's like in life, like for fulfillment, like you have to fulfill like these 5 like traits or something, and within it it's like for a job, like for a career, right? Are you making like an impact on the world? Are you making money? Are you happy? And is this helping people in any way? Something like that, right? So for me, I feel like, or in the book, I think it says that most people can only fulfill like 2 out of like the 5 things on there. But to really like find your fulfillment in life, like you have to fulfill like all 5, but that rarely happens, right? But I think that's definitely like an interesting point that you bring up and whatnot.
I think it's so hard, especially in like just the reality of it is just so hard to fulfill all 5.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, man. Oh my gosh.
I think that's why life is just hard.
It is. It is hard. It is hard. But I think we're definitely making like good strides forward though.
Yeah. I think as long as you have like the good intentions towards it, then that's what matters.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of running down on time here, but I have one last question for you.
Yes.
I guess for the audience as well. But if you were to give yourself like your, let's say, your college self maybe like 3 years ago, or even like a high schooler, a piece of advice, what type of advice would that be?
Ooh.
Knowing like everything that you know now, of course.
That everything's gonna be okay.
Everything's gonna be okay?
Yeah. I think I'm someone who's very risk adverse, and I overthink a lot, and if I don't know what I'm doing at any certain point, I start to like overthink, and I think that's why I struggled with for a very, very long time, and even till now. But I think with the trends that has been happening, you know, being able to go to LA, being able to make it to TikTok, being able to, you know, get a internship at one of my dream companies, like everything's gonna be okay. So
Yeah. Damn, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to wrap up the end of the podcast. And I'd like to thank you again, Tuyen, for joining us here today. If anything within this podcast resonated with you in any way, feel free to share it across all social media platforms and tag at detour.podcast. If you'd like to support Tuyen and her social media growth, please follow her at Life with Tuyen on Instagram and TikTok. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And again, thank you guys so much for all your love and support. I'm your host, Gary Fan, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.